Now look, sometimes when you inquire of a person what they're feeling and needing, well, let's take an extreme case. It's an enemy that wants your land. It's quite happy to kill you in order to get it. Oh, now, are you going to carry on negotiating, trying to understand why he wants to steal your land? You can. You might come up with the fact like the Huns, they were suffering from starvation, famine at home. Perhaps they were being driven by this to attack Rome or whatever it was they were attacking. I think they just attacked the provinces beyond Rome to begin with, beyond the Roman Empire. So you could find what the problem is, and you could say, look, you're starving. That's the problem, isn't it? I say, well, yeah. Right. How can we help? What can we do? Have we got enough surplus food? Do we know enough friends, neighbouring countries that could help you in this tragic state? Not wait for you to terrorise us so much that we bribe you not to attack us, or you kill us. So, you could find there is a solution, but you might not. You may find it's an ethnic hatred situation. And you can talk till you're blue in the face, but you're not going to make much headway as regards them loving your people instead of hating them. You might be an ethnic group that's been demonized for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And we can think of obvious examples, can't we? You can't convince your attacking enemy that there are peaceful solutions that don't require them to wipe you out. They just want to wipe you out. So you have to fight. I'm not saying, therefore, that loving communication will always work. And indeed, we have the classic case in the Mahabharata where Krishna himself, having come from the negotiating table, says, I declare war. This is supposed to be God declaring war, remember? He's saying, I declare war. In other words, there's no other solution. If we don't fight them, they're going to wipe us out. They're going to marginalise us so much that life will be just hell. And then, of course, the story goes on, and there's a fascinating part of the story which Krishna, is it Krishna? Yeah, gives Arjuna and the enemy, who are actually also family, the option. You can have either me on your side or my army. The army of God, for goodness sake. Well, of course, the enemy can't resist this. It says, we'll have your army, mate. That sounds like a winner. And Arjuna has, therefore, Krishna, God, on his side. Well, of course, to have God on your side is infinitely better than anything, army or anything else. And so it's a foregone conclusion from then on, if you trust God. So it's a lovely and fascinating story, and it's huge. It's one of the epic scriptures in the Mahabharata, and I'm probably pronouncing it dreadfully from an Indian point of view, but anyway. It's too long to read. It's long. If you want the best bit, you read the Bhagavad Gita, which is only about, 18 little chapters, Each chapter's not as long as a gospel chapter. It's very straightforward. And some beautiful pieces in it too. Gandhi's view was there isn't a spiritual problem or conundrum that isn't sorted by serious recourse to the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, well, that's sort of Indian religion, of course. Where was I? I think I've got it right, that Marshall Rosenberg's understanding is that when you've got someone to the negotiating table, well, in some sense they're willing to negotiate, at least. You may not be able to actually have them face to face because they are just so inflame each other, but you may be able to keep it cool. And you may well find that when both sides truly listen to what the needs of the other side are, there's room for peace and negotiation. And I don't mean trade. I do mean both give and take, but not trade somehow. In other words, he gives one very good example of one side saying, well, we haven't got jobs, there's no work for us, we can't keep our families. Well, anyone can empathise with that. It calls on your heart, doesn't it? If you're willing to hear. And the other side, what did they want? I think they just wanted an end of hostilities because you don't want your families bombed and that by, terrorists, so to speak, from your point of view. So, they point out the obvious, well, we're looking for security, we're trying to defend ourselves, we're trying to stop these attacks. Now you're both willing to give to the other. You realise, goodness, both sides are willing to give. Especially if there's no cost to themselves, because they already feel they're suffering the cost of the other side on them in some way. So, yes, we are willing to stop throwing rockets at you and terrorist attacks if our people have an equal chance with yours and so on. Right, what can we do about that? And if we do that, well, if you do that, yes, we're not going to be unhappy, and we certainly won't attack you. You see, it is a sort of trade, isn't it? But it's a win-win trade. It's both saying, wow, yes, I like this trade. It's ideal free trade, isn't it? Not giving in because you've got a gun to your head. But, no, I don't want your people to, your families to be in poverty and so on. I appreciate you need work. How can we somehow solve this? How can we give you access to the job market? How we can even create jobs if necessary. Why not? It's not the end of the world. As an economist, we all know something about Keynesian economics. If someone spends, then someone receives, and there's employment, and they spend, and so forth. It can be done where there's a will. And there is a will, not just because you're throwing rockets at us, but now there's a genuine, loving will. Yes, I realise you're disruptive from our point of view because you've got no hope. You can't see any other way. Right. Let's do what we can. And then, of course, your enemy melts into, like mist in the morning, just vanishes because there's no problem. There's sunshine. But you can find then that this one of the parties is just being unloving. One is actually being loving and the other is not. Now you can appeal to him if he's not particularly godly, you can appeal to him from the point of view of self-interest. But what's life going to be like if you end up with a divorce, for instance? It's very bad for people to cope with a divorce. It's not as light and honey as you think, and there isn't necessarily a beautiful substitute partner waiting for you in the wings. And you grow old alone, without family and without the one that you once loved. That's not good. It's not the ideal. Open your eyes. It's not your best option, even from a selfish point of view. So do you see, if you have a loving concern for both parties, or if each party has a loving concern for the other, then there's great hope. And the purpose of Marshall Rosenberg's practice of nonviolent communication is that you call upon that good side of a person's nature. And he's deliberately avoiding, I think, any religious aspect. Probably because he's found religion differences so often one of the causes of the violence and the discord. A dogmatism that doesn't actually hear your enemy's needs at all. So that may well be why he's steered off, and perhaps his very nature steers off religion because of that too. And fair enough, that's understandable, isn't it? But again, I, Marshall here, can understand Marshall. Oh, two Marshalls, aren't there? That's unusual. I can understand his view if he's secular. Why he's, perhaps he's anti-religion. And I can appreciate why he could be. I'm not condemning him for it, for goodness sake. I would like everyone to know the love of God, but not everyone thinks God is loving, if he existed at all, So we're not saying that loving your enemies necessarily means your enemy is going to love you. But they are human. And as Marshall Rosenberg points out, they do actually have basically the same needs. And if it's those needs that are the problem, well, that we can understand and both sides sympathise with. If we just both want to steal each other's land, well, get on with it, mate. May the best man win, It's going to be quite different. If one side is malevolent in that way and the other side isn't, well, the other side may still have to go to war in the end. May. But may not. Check it out. And loving your enemy does make you check it out. And then you may find, no, there's a solution that we can meet these needs without war. And if that is the case, my goodness, you don't want to miss such an opportunity, do you? And if one side's loving, then one side can be very actively negotiating in a way that reveals such opportunity and possibilities of harmonious outcome. Thank you, Dad.